Hello, and welcome to Talking Business with Beverly. I am your host and business strategist, Beverly Wathauer. Thank you so much for joining us as we support you, the entrepreneur, in getting the clarity needed in order to create time and financial freedom in your business. And we do this by not only addressing your business needs, but also your physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, financial, and relationship needs as well. And now join me in welcoming Monet Marcia to the show. Hello, Monet, how are you?
I am doing fantastically well today.
Awesome. And so I have Monet with us, and she's going to speak with us about grief, and specifically when it comes to children. And just, as entrepreneurs, and a lot of us, we have children, we just want to make sure that we're addressing their needs as well. And so, Monet, actually, before we dive into the conversation, I love to play this game with my guests where I ask them 3 random questions.
Okay.
So, Monet, are you down to play the game?
I'm game for the game.
Okay, awesome. Okay, Monet, what is your favorite color?
My favorite color is purple.
And no purple today? Oh, very interesting. No purple today.
No purple today.
And Monet, if you could be any animal, what would you be?
I would be a cat. I think that they do a lot of things. They're self-sufficient. They can groom themselves. They eat well. They sleep well.
They leave you alone. Like, I'm a cat person too. Like,
Yes.
Dogs, but a cat.
They're living their best life.
Thank you.
As long as you leave them alone and you do what they tell you to do.
Exactly. And then my last one. If you could choose between being on the beach or being in the mountains, where would you go?
Definitely the beach. I just relocated to be a lot closer to the beaches from the Midwest all the way very near to California, but not quite there.
I love it.
Just a 3-hour drive.
I love it. Okay, so Monet, we're going to go ahead and jump into the conversation.
Okay.
And so once again, just tell the viewers just a little bit about yourself.
So I'm Monet Marcia. I am a certified life and grief coach. And right now, I really love this part of my business, but I also am a virtual assistant. So I started off doing that and used that to kind of transition into being a life and grief coach. And I just really love just helping people. So both of those businesses allow me to just really come and help people in different ways.
Awesome. Okay, so kind of talk to us just a little bit. You said a VA, so kind of explain what is a VA?
So a virtual assistant is someone, and I was telling people recently how I love the internet because it allows you to work with people and they don't have to be close to you, near you at all. So as a virtual assistant, I like to help people take away those mundane tasks that they no longer want to do. I was a 10-key person back in the day. I'm really great with typing. So my WPM was 86. So I was really good with that. So I knew that I can help business owners who don't like the CRM systems, who don't like to do the kind of dirty work, if you will. I take that off their hands and then I let them be their best self, creating their businesses.
I love that. And then you said you're a certified, grief and life coach?
Life and grief coach. And I'm also a certified weight coach, but we're going to leave that for
Okay, not
I'll
right
let
now.
them do
Okay,
that.
okay,
Yeah,
okay,
I
okay,
just help
okay.
myself in that area. But as a grief coach, I empower women to help their grieving children, and specifically in the area of children who lost a parent. So they're homicide survivors. Their parents are gone.
Jesus. And so how did you get into that arena?
That one is a very personal story to me. My children's dad was murdered a couple years ago, and actually my son's dad was murdered when he was little. And during that time, I hadn't learned how to help my kid through the grieving process. But then the second time around, I had tools that I was using on myself, and then it dawned on me one day, what if I use those same things to help my daughter who was really struggling with the death of her father? And going into that and spending time with her literally took her from a very scary place, very traumatic place, into what I like to call that I help my people with is post-traumatic growth.
Oh, I love that.
Yes.
Post-traumatic growth, because
Yes.
we're used to post-traumatic stress syndrome,
Exactly.
but post-traumatic growth. So kind of explain that just a little bit more.
Post-traumatic growth is a positive psychological change in a person that had a circumstance that was traumatic or very stressful. So instead of that being something that hinders them from moving on in their lives, you can utilize that to grow and be a better you. And with me and the life coaching part of it, some people are so stuck in it and they just can't see themselves, especially moms. They're like, I just don't know what to do. And they feel helpless. And that's why I come alongside them and I help them walk through that and say, hey, you can go through the post-traumatic growth, and then you can show your children how to do it as well.
That's
so
powerful.
it's like not just a one thing, you know, it's not linear, because it'll help generations to come. They can teach their kids. It doesn't have to stop with just a mother and that child.
And that's powerful, being able to break that, or once again, give them the life skills that they can use and take that with them wherever.
Absolutely.
I love that.
Absolutely.
And so if you had to describe like the mission of your business, how would you describe the mission and what it is that you do with the life coaching and the grief coaching?
The mission literally is to empower moms.
Empower moms.
It's literally that. And what I like about the particular mission of my business kind of reminds me of a nonprofit I used to do. In my mind, when I want to do something for someone, I want to give them everything, right? I teach them everything I know so they no longer need me. Same way that a nonprofit is supposed to be set up so that it can end. So I teach them everything I know so that they don't need me. I walk alongside with them in this journey, but I teach them everything. And the more I know, I put it out there. If I figure out something different, or if God drops something in my spirit, I'm gonna go out and I'm gonna teach them, oh my gosh, here's something else. Here's another tool. And that's what I do. So it's just really that empowerment piece, self-confidence, just the longevity of being able to take it from, you just started working with me, to I can teach others that I come in contact with. They may be dealing with this. Maybe I can teach them a little bit myself.
Wow. And so, you know, you shared a little bit, you know, your personal experience, because that's a lot of entrepreneurs. Usually it's something, you know, that they've experienced. And so you said you used that. How did you find those skills to kind of cope yourself? Was it something that you already knew, or did you have to learn it yourself?
I had to learn it. I started working in a program for self-coaching. So there's a coaching school that I went to, and I had my own life coach. And it wasn't for this. It was for something totally different. I just wanted to be 100% more than where I was. I just didn't really think that I was living my best life, so to speak. I love that term, because people kind of like don't live their best life. I'm like, how can I live my best life? But it was also because I wanted to love the people around me 100%, and I just didn't feel that I knew how to do that. So I started doing this self-coaching and really trying to figure out what is it that has me stuck. And it was a lot of thought work. It was what I was thinking. It was what I was doing. I would have my scriptures, but I wasn't really changing my mindset with it, right? So once I started learning that for myself, I did it for about a year before the trauma happened. And then I started working on that grieving process for myself. And it wasn't simple, and I didn't even realize it at first, but eventually it got there. And then I was able to take it from my own, and then into the children, and then into helping others.
I love it. And I love you said that it's a process. So it wasn't something that happened overnight.
It was not.
And so that's something that you also emphasize to your clients as well, that it is a process.
I do. And the biggest thing is, a lot of people think that there's these 5 stages of grief. And it's just not true for this particular situation.
Gotcha.
A lot of people took Kubler-Ross's work and took it for what it is, and they took it for the trauma after you lost someone. Her work was about people that were terminally ill and their 5 stages in that grieving process.
Gotcha. So we're actually going to talk more about that in the different stages right after these messages. And welcome back to Talking Business with Beverly. And so we have been having an amazing conversation with Monet Marcia, and she's just been speaking with us about grief and the process and what that looks like. And so before the break, you mentioned something very interesting. You mentioned the stages of grief. And so we've all heard about the 5 stages of grief, but you kind of blew my mind a little bit, because you said something I had never heard before. So kind of elaborate a little bit more on what you were saying right before the break.
Yeah, absolutely. So Kubler-Ross is the one that got really popular with the 5 stages of grief and what she put out. And a lot of people mistook that as for the people who are going to be living after someone passed away. But that wasn't what her work was about. And those 5 stages that we have become very familiar with is for people who are terminally ill and what they are experiencing as they're approaching death. And the grieving process, though, for other people is different. There's no getting over it necessarily. There's no it's gonna end. There's no timeline.
Okay.
That stage is really weird. And when I think about it, my grief, once I finally figured out that I did not grieve the loss of my kid's dad, and I figured out I did, my grief was different because I had already had some tools, right? So I kind of did like this kind of grieving process.
Gotcha.
And my daughter is like this.
Yes.
And she's
Wow.
still going through it.
Okay. So that was just very interesting because I've never heard it that way.
Yes.
That it's actually the grieving, the 5 stages of grief we're used to is for the person that's actually dying.
Yes.
But there's a different process that the survivors go through. Okay, so kind of talk about that because that's the part where I'm completely at a loss of words. So I'm getting ready to learn something right now.
Oh,
so share with us,
yeah.
what does that look like? And I know you said it's different for all people or different people. So kind of explain in general what the grieving process looks like for the survivors.
I say the first thing that most people deal with is the numbness, especially the adults, because they have to do the things. They have to plan the this, and they have to be there for that, and they have to show up if they're able to. And so they're just walking around numb. But for children, that's different. They may not have to do all those things. And so their grief could be outright the crying, the shut down, or the pretending it never happened. I know with my son, when he was 6 and he lost his father, we just went on like nothing ever happened.
Both you and him, or?
Well, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it just, he went to therapy because I am a huge, don't get me wrong, I'm a life coach. I am not a licensed professional in that area. So I believe in therapy. Both my children went through therapy, and I love it. But there's this step of what happens after therapy, and when they come home and they're still dealing with things, that's where I help the people. Because the process isn't black and white. My son did something different than my daughter. And then I did something different. But that process changes based off of how you can help yourself. And if you've never, they don't teach this.
No, they don't. They don't.
They don't teach that you're going to lose somebody in your life. And they definitely don't teach about mass murders or things like that.
And that's, I feel like in this day and age, that's something that needs to be talked about more. I remember when I taught, like when I first started teaching, we had the little drills we did for bombs. But by the time I left, we actually had mass shooting drills that we had to do. So in this day and age, I just feel like that's something that needs to be talked about more and actually prepare. And I know it may seem kind of morbid, but like kind of preparing them of how do you deal with those kind of situations.
The way that I look at it is we all know that as humans, we come into this world, we're birthed in, and then we are going to exit. We are not mortal, right? It shouldn't be morbid. And if that's what our society is, why would we be quiet about it? Why wouldn't we equip our children? And even to the point of those that are survivors, they have a hard time, right? So if we already have had a little bit of a conversation, then now they can know even how to help the other people that were around them.
Wow, that makes sense. And I don't know if we always think about the children, because I remember one time we had a drill and I looked out of my classroom window and the SWAT team with their guns were drawn. And I'm like, if I still remember that was like 5 or 6 years ago. Like, what about the children and them actually seeing exactly what I saw and them seeing it as children? So you mentioned like that first stage of numbness. What else do we experience as survivors?
So the numbness is really, I consider the adult thing, but it could manifest in children as well. But after the numbness, this is where it could stop. This is where I have the most concern for most of my clients is, let's just pretend nothing happened. Let's just go around. Let's do all the things. Let's put kids in all the sports. Let's put them in the clubs and the programs. We're going to keep them busy. We want to keep their mind off of grieving instead of allowing them to grieve. And that's what I teach my clients. This is how you grieve. This is how you process that grief. This is how you feel those emotions. Because if you learn how to feel those emotions and you don't die from feeling them, then perhaps the grieving process allows you to love that person even more.
And that makes so much sense because once again, us, being adults, we're like, okay, if we just keep them busy, keep them occupied.
I did it.
But we're doing them a disservice that way.
A disservice, 100%, because we're not teaching them real life is not all happy days. It's just not. And if we're saying we're going to just keep you busy to not see anything and not feel anything, we're not even teaching them how to become an adult. And then they leave school, especially if they had this amazing high school life. And they leave school and they go to college and they're disappointed.
Gotcha. So once again, that actually taking them through the grieving process. And of course, having someone that can actually support them through that process is amazing.
Yes.
And so, that is something key. And we're going to actually elaborate a little bit more on that right after these messages. And welcome back to Talking Business with Beverly. And so we are having an amazing conversation with Monet. She's actually speaking with us about grief, and specifically we're going to get more into what it looks like for children. Yes. And so Monet, you were talking before the break, not to have where we kind of ignore it and have our kids involved in everything to kind of keep their minds off the event, but you're encouraging us to actually walk them through the process. So kind of talk to us just a little bit about what does that look like to go through a grieving or the grieving process.
The interesting thing is because everyone does it differently, it's to identify what is causing you to not want to grieve. And that is the kind of coaching I do. So I don't do coaching where I tell you what to do. I do causal coaching. And causal gets to what's the base cause? Why do you not want to grieve? So we identify that first. And that session can last quite a while because a lot of people don't want to share that information. A lot of people are embarrassed. They have shame about it. So once we get to the cause, then we can identify what they're feeling. Like, what is it inside? And that is what I call processing an emotion.
And one thing that kind of stood out when you just said that also, they may just not know how to do it. Yeah, because, just like you said, just keep them busy. Even when we're younger, just keep them busy.
Yes.
So, the shame, the embarrassment, but also I just plain don't know. I'm doing what I know to do.
Yeah, I've never done that. When I first got into this, that was one of the big eye openers for me. In my life, we were told we had to stay tough and hard and put those things in your back pocket and all of that, right? And I'm superwoman, I'm mom, and so I didn't do that. So when I learned this, I was like, oh my God, I've been missing out on amazing feelings that I didn't even know I could have. My language started to change. Exuberance started to become in my vocabulary. And it wasn't just like happy, sad, there was real joy. But that's what I do. I help them get to that, what is it? And there's somewhere you're feeling it that's causing you not to do any action.
Wow. And that's interesting. She mentioned joy when we're talking about grief, but the end product, that's what we're looking to end up.
Because when you go through this process, there are going to be days where you literally can find joy in grief. Grief is literally the way that you love a person after they die. Because if you didn't care about that person, would you grieve them? If you didn't know me and I passed away, you may not grieve me. But if you were close to me and I loved you, that grief is out of love. And when I explain that to people, then they want to grieve. Yes. Like, oh, wait, I get to love this person by showing how much I care for them? Absolutely.
I love that reframe. I've never heard it that way. So that's absolutely amazing. And so you kind of, talk to us just a little bit about, how you start that process with them when it goes to grieving. What else is involved as you walk them through the process of grieving?
The biggest one is that lasts for the longest amount of time because people are not used to doing it. It's not something we're taught. A lot of the times we're told to stuff everything away. So we start going through that process. And then each portion of it, so I have a program and it's literally grief, but GREEF.
Oh.
So it's grace, it's the reconnect. So you're reconnecting with your children because first you got to give yourself some grace.
Yes.
You're so angry that you haven't been doing it. Well, give yourself some grace. Let's do that. Then you can reconnect with your kid. And then you can get together and you can be energetic. And people think that that's odd, but once they start doing it, they're like, wow, well, we're having fun with this.
Yes.
And then the empowerment. So now you've went through that and you're empowered mom to do what you need to do. And then they walk away with the last one, which is the F, and that's freedom.
I love that.
So now they have the freedom to know how to help their kids be the best that they can be. They can live and be the best that they can be. And they can just recycle those tools in every part of their life. Wow. Not just in the grieving process.
That makes sense. Now repeat that again, the grief. What does that stand for again? I love that acronym.
The G is for grace.
Okay.
The R is for reconnect. The first E is for energetic or energizing, either way that you would like to say it. The other E is empowering, and the last one is freedom.
I love it. Okay. And so kind of talk to us a little bit, about what is it that children grieve? Because I know as adults, we can, of course, grieve the loss of someone or a job or, losing a home or something like that.
Yes.
But how does it look with children?
The interesting thing that once you start talking to children in these processes, and I do work with the moms, but if they want their kids to come alongside, I'll talk to them as well. So I have a really close relationship with children. But they grieve like a loss of a pet. And it doesn't mean that the pet was dead, but maybe it ran away.
Ah,
Or
okay.
maybe they had an allergy and they can no longer have dogs anymore.
That was me. I had to give my cat away. I had
But
an
you don't
allergy.
even know that happened such a long time ago, and you've been holding on to this emotion that maybe have you stuck in other areas of your life. And most of the time, that doesn't come out until we're adults, and now we're trying to deal with what caused something from back in the day. Well, we can help children now
Yes.
with some of those traumatic things that somebody wouldn't have thought that was traumatic.
Yes.
But it is. It was huge, right? Then you have things like friendship. So a friend, you're going from middle school to high school, and then now you're in this gigantic school, and maybe you guys have different classes, and those friends are gone. Or someone told your secret. So there's a trust. Trust can cause kids to grieve. So maybe it was even your parent. You told your parents something, and then all of a sudden auntie knows it.
Uh-oh.
Right? Right? It could be even that pet rock. It's just the smallest of things starts that traumatic experience, and then it builds on for years and years and years.
And now that I'm thinking about the different examples, even us as adults, we grieve those things. Like if we had a friendship and that happened, or someone broke our trust, I just never thought about it when it came to the kids.
We just tell them to move on.
Yes,
You're
it's like
gonna
get over.
friends.
Make more friends. Yeah, make more friends. Yeah, you're in the school.
Absolutely.
So I love that, and that makes so much sense to me now. And so I pray that it also helps the viewers as well.
Yeah.
And Monet, guess what? We are actually out of time.
How went by fast?
Yes. So share with our viewers, how they can find out more information about you. So your email, your website, your social media handles.
Absolutely. So I'm Monet Marcia. I can be reached at www.coachmonet.com. So that's CoachMonaye.com. I can also be reached anytime at hello@coachmonet.com. And I'm a person that like people to text me, and I can send them back amazing things to help them through the day. So you can always text me at 636-393-8833 if you just need a little empowerment. And also you can find me on Facebook at Monet Marcia. So Facebook /MONAYEMARCIA.
Wow. And Monet, thank you so much for joining us. This was a very powerful conversation.
So fun. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. And we also want to thank you, the viewers, for joining us as well. And remember, as entrepreneurs, you want to make sure that you take care of your business, physical, emotional, spiritual, and financial needs as well if you want to gain that time and financial freedom in your business. Until next time, take care.